The warning came at 0347 hours ship time. Long-range sensors detected the largest Varrock fleet ever assembled heading directly for New Geneva Station, humanity's forward command base and the heart of the coalition. Admiral Choi, Minho studied the tactical display with growing dread. 3,000 enemy ships, including super-heavy destroyers that dwarfed anything the coalition had ever faced. At the center of the fleet was a massive command vessel that could crack planets. "They're not just trying to win a battle," reported intelligence officer Lee Soo-young. "They're trying to end the war in one strike." General Park Hyo-jin coordinated the defense while emergency messages went out to every coalition world. Help was coming, but it would take days to arrive. The mixed fleet at New Geneva would have to hold against impossible odds. "Sir, we have 800 ships against 3,000, reported Captain Nam In-soo, now commanding the battlecruiser Indomitable. "Even with our technological advantages, the numbers are against us." Choi looked around the command center at faces from a dozen different species. Kalani technicians worked alongside human engineers. Zephyrian biospecialists coordinated with Nathara calculation units. Fortani energy masters supported Trilaki strategic planners. "Numbers aren't everything," Choi said quietly. "We've proven that before." The Varrock fleet arrived like a dark storm, blotting out the stars with their massive hulls. Prime Harvester Morgath's command ship was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could sterilize continents. "Coalition forces, this is Prime Harvester Morgath," came the transmission in perfect human English. "You have interfered with the natural order for the last time. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Commander Yoon Haijin answered from the bridge of the rebuilt Hanbok's Pride. "This is the Free World's coalition. We don't negotiate with genocidal monsters. If you want our station, come and take it." The battle began with a barrage that lit up space like a second sun. Varrock superweapons hammered coalition shields while defensive guns returned fire with everything they had. The first wave of fighting lasted 6 hours. Coalition ships used every trick they had learned. Kalani self-repair systems, Zephyrian bioadaptation, Nathara harmonic calculations, Vortani electromagnetic cloaking. But the Varrock had adapted too, bringing new weapons designed specifically to counter coalition advantages. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Damage Control Officer Park Tae-min from the station. "Kalani repair systems are overwhelmed. We're losing atmosphere fast." Captain Song Yeon-ji led a desperate counterattack with mixed fighter squadrons. Human pilots flew alongside Zephyrian biofighters and Nathara crystal ships, trying to break through to the Varrock command vessel. "This is Squadron Leader Song. The enemy has learned to counter our individual advantages, but they still can't predict our combined tactics. All wings, Formation Omega-7. Formation Omega-7 was something new, a battle formation that required perfect coordination between multiple species. Human fighters provided speed and aggression. Zephyrian bioships adapted to enemy fire patterns in real time. Nathara crystals calculated optimal attack vectors, while Vortani vessels provided stealth support. The formation worked, punching through Varrock defenses and reaching the outer edge of their fleet. But the cost was terrible. Captain Song's fighter was hit by enemy fire as she led the final assault on a Varrock destroyer. "All units, this is Song. My ship is down, but the target is marked. For the coalition. For every world we couldn't save." Her fighter exploded against the enemy ship's bridge, taking out the destroyer's command systems. The attack opened a gap in Varrock lines, but it cost the coalition one of their best commanders. The battle raged for 3 days. Ships fought until their hulls cracked and their crews collapsed from exhaustion. The station's medical bays overflowed with wounded from every coalition species. Dr. Shinbora worked without sleep, treating injuries that ranged from human radiation burns to Kalani crystal fractures to Zephyrian biosystem failures. "We're holding them," she reported during a brief break. "But we can't take much more of this." On the third night, reinforcements finally arrived. Fleet Admiral Kim Jae-woo brought ships from Earth, while other coalition fleets jumped in from across the galaxy. The Helix sent their poetry ships whose harmonic weapons could disrupt Varrock electronics. The Forge Masters contributed automated battle platforms that fought without crews. But Morgath had been waiting for this moment. As the reinforcements engaged his outer fleet, he launched his personal assault on the station with his command ship and elite guard. The massive Varrock vessel was like a moving fortress, too large for normal weapons to damage effectively. Its guns systematically destroyed coalition defensive positions while boarding pods launched toward the station's docking. Bays. They're trying to take the station intact, realized General Park. Morgath wants to capture our command center and use it as a symbol. The final battle moved inside New Geneva Station itself. Varrock shock troops fought coalition marines in corridors designed for peaceful cooperation between species. The aliens were larger and stronger than humans, but they had never faced opponents who would die before retreating. Commander Yoon led the defense of the main command center. His mixed species team had trained together for months, learning to coordinate their different abilities in close combat. Kehlani squad, use your repair tools as weapons. Zephyrian team, your biosuits can survive in vacuum. Take the outer corridors. Nethera unit, calculate optimal defensive positions. Fortani warriors, use electromagnetic pulse to disable their equipment. The fighting was brutal and desperate. Varrock soldiers expected other species to break and run when faced with superior force. Instead, they found enemies who fought harder when cornered. But the coalition was losing. Too many ships were damaged or destroyed. Too many good people had died defending strangers they barely knew. Prime Harvester Morgath himself led the final assault on the command center. The alien leader was massive, nearly 3 meters tall and armored in technology that made him almost invulnerable. "You have cost my people much," Morgath said, as his forces surrounded the last coalition defenders. "But this ends now. Your irrational behavior dies with you." Commander Yoon looked around at his remaining crew. Humans, Kehlani, Zephyrians, Nethera, Vortani, all preparing to make their last stand together. "Maybe," Yoon replied. "But we taught the galaxy something you'll never understand. We taught them that someone will always fight for those who can't fight for themselves." The final assault began with Morgath's guards advancing on the command center. But Yoon had one last card to play. The station's fusion reactor could be overloaded, creating an explosion that would destroy both the Coalition base and Morgath's command ship. "All Coalition ships, this is Commander Yoon. Break off and retreat to minimum safe distance. We're going to light up the sky." "Sir," protested Captain Nam over the communication system, "there has to be another way." "There is no other way," Yoon replied calmly. "Tell Earth that we kept our promise. Tell the galaxy that the Coalition will never surrender." The explosion lit up space for light years in every direction. New Geneva Station vanished in a ball of nuclear fire, taking Morgath's command ship and most of his elite fleet with it. The remaining Varrock forces retreated in confusion and panic. For the first time in their history, a prime harvester had been killed in battle. Their doctrine of easy conquest had been shattered by enemies who would destroy themselves rather than submit. The victory came at a terrible cost. New Geneva Station was gone, along with thousands of Coalition personnel. Earth had lost many of its best military leaders, including Commander Yoon Haijin, the hero who had answered the first alien distress call. But across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The mighty Varrock Empire had been bloodied and their supreme commander was dead. The Coalition had proven that the aliens were not invincible. Dr. Shin Bo-Ra, now serving as interim commander of Coalition forces, received messages from across known space. Species that had been hiding in fear for centuries were emerging from their hidden worlds. The time of running was over. Commander Yoon's sacrifice was not in vain, she reported to Earth Command. The galaxy has seen what we're willing to do to protect others. The Varrock may have won this battle, but they've lost something more important, their reputation for being unstoppable. As rescue ships searched the debris field for survivors, one transmission reached Coalition frequencies. It was weak and broken, but unmistakably human. "This is Commander Yoon. Station destroyed, mission accomplished. Morgath is dead. Tell the galaxy. Someone will always answer the call." He had survived barely in an emergency pod, but his words would echo across the stars for generations to come. The age of Varrock supremacy was ending. The age of galactic freedom had begun. Captain Tae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the New Sol, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was 3 months into a deep space exploration mission, searching for new worlds humanity could call home. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't care. Out here in the darkness between stars, time moved differently. "Captain," called Da-Un Park from her station. The young woman was the ship's best language expert. "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Tae-ho walked over to her console. The screen showed waves of data that meant nothing to him, but Daun's face was worried. What kind of strange? It's a signal, sir, but not from Earth or any of our colonies. The pattern is completely alien. She touched a few buttons and the signal became clearer. Captain, I think someone is trying to talk to us. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. For 300 years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. They had found empty worlds and dead civilizations, but never anyone still alive. Now maybe that had changed. Can you understand what they're saying? Taeho asked. Daeun worked for several hours, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The rest of the crew watched and waited. Finally, she looked up with wide eyes. Captain, you need to hear this. She played the translated message through the ship's speakers. The voice was strange, like music mixed with wind chimes, but the words were clear enough. To anyone who can hear this message, we are the Villani people of the Kepler 442 system. Our worlds are dying. Ancient machines called the Ravagers have come to destroy us. They eat everything alive and turn it into more machines. We have sent this message to every star in the sky. Please, if someone is listening, we need help. We cannot fight them alone. 17 of our colony worlds are already gone. Soon our home world will die too. We are not warriors. We are artists and dreamers and builders. But these machines know only hunger. Please, someone help us. The message repeated 3 more times, then stopped. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Soo-Jin Lee, the ship's doctor and scientist, was the first to speak. Captain, if this is real, it's real, Daeun said quickly. I've checked the signal a dozen times. It came from the Kepler 442 system, just like they said. Taeho looked at his tactical officer, Hyunwoo Choi. How far is that system from here? Hyunwoo checked his charts. About 2 weeks at full speed, sir. But Captain, we should report this to Earth Command first. This could be dangerous. How long would it take to get orders from Earth? Taeho asked. 3 months for the message to reach Earth, then 3 more months for their reply to reach us. Soo-Jin stepped forward. Captain, I've been studying the data they sent with the message. These Villani, they're completely peaceful. Their biology shows no weapons, no armor, nothing for fighting. They've evolved in a safe galaxy where problems are solved with words, not violence. And these Ravagers? Taeho asked. From what I can understand, they're machines that used to be alive. Some kind of ancient race that turned themselves into metal and computers. Now they travel from world to world, eating everything organic to fuel their expansion. Hyunwoo pulled up a star map on the main screen. Sir, I've been tracking the path of destruction mentioned in their message. If the pattern continues, these Ravagers will reach their home world in 6 months. Maybe less. Taeho stared at the map. Red dots marked dead worlds, forming a line that pointed straight at the Villani home system. 6 months, he repeated. Captain, said Min Ayun from the communication station. I've been monitoring other signals in this region. No one else has responded to their call for help. The Villani have been sending this message for over a year and we're the first to answer. What about other civilizations? Surely there are advanced species out there who could help. Daeun shook her head. I've detected signals from at least 3 major galactic powers in this region. They all received the Villani message. None of them responded. The weight of that hit everyone on the bridge. Somewhere out there, an entire peaceful species was about to die and nobody cared enough to help. Sir, Hyunwoo said quietly, even if we wanted to help, what could one human ship do against machines that have destroyed 17 worlds? It was a good question. The New Soul was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They had some basic weapons for asteroid mining and protection against pirates, but nothing designed for real combat. Taeho walked back to the main window and looked out at the stars. In the distance, too far to see, an alien species was counting down their final days. They had sent their cry for help into the darkness, hoping someone would care enough to answer. He thought about Earth, about humanity's long history of helping others even when it was dangerous or stupid. How many times had humans risked everything to save strangers? How many times had they fought impossible odds just because it was the right thing to do? Daeun, he said without turning around. Send a reply to the Villani. Tell them that humanity received their message. Tell them we're coming, sir. Hyunwoo sounded shocked. We need orders from Earth Command. Taeho turned to face his crew. Earth Command is 6 months away. The Villani have 6 months to live. By the time we get permission to help, there won't be anyone left to save. But Captain, Soo-Jin said, what can we actually do? I don't know yet. But we're going to find out. He sat down in his captain's chair. Minna, send that message to the Villani. Then send a full report to Earth Command. Tell them what we found and what we're doing about it. And if Earth Command orders us to return? Hyunwoo asked. Taeho smiled, but there was no humor in it. Then we'll have to decide if we're explorers or heroes. Hyunwoo, set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed. As the new soul changed direction and jumped to faster-than-light travel, Daeun's translation came through the speakers again. But this time it wasn't the Villani crying for help. It was her own voice speaking in the strange musical language of the aliens. This is Captain Taeho Kim of the human vessel New Soul. We have received your message. Help is coming. You are not alone anymore. For the first time in over a year, the Villani received an answer to their prayers. They didn't know much about humans yet, but they would learn soon enough. When humans heard someone crying for help, they came running, even if it meant running straight into hell. 2 weeks later, the New Soul dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they saw made everyone on the bridge fall silent. The system was beautiful and terrible at the same time. 3 planets orbited a yellow star much like Earth's sun. The closest planet was clearly the Villani homeworld, covered in blue oceans and green continents. But between the planets and scattered throughout the system were the remains of destroyed worlds, broken into chunks of rock and metal that caught the starlight like tears. "My God," whispered Soo-jin as she studied the sensor readings. "Those used to be planets." Captain Taeho nodded grimly. "The Ravagers' work. How many people lived on those worlds?" "According to the data, each colony had about 50 million Villani," Daeun said, her voice shaking. "That's 850 million people just in this system." Before anyone could respond, the communications console lit up. Mina quickly answered the incoming signal. "Captain, the Villani are hailing us. Put them on screen." The main display flickered and showed the inside of what looked like a crystal palace. The being standing in the center was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to be made of living glass. Patterns of soft blue light moved under the surface like slow lightning. When it spoke, its voice was the same musical sound they had heard in the distress signal. "Welcome, travelers from the stars. I am Lyrian, speaker for the Villani Council. Are you truly the ones who answered our call?" Daeun quickly translated Taeho's response. "We are humans from the planet Earth. I am Captain Taeho Kim of the vessel New Soul. We came as soon as we received your message." Lyrian's light pattern shifted to what seemed like amazement. "You came. After so long with no answer, someone actually came." The alien paused, and when it continued, there was something like tears in its voice. "How many ships did you bring? How large is your fleet?" Taeho felt his heart sink. "Speaker Lyrian, we are just one ship, but we've sent word to our homeworld. More help is coming." The light patterns under Lyrian's skin dimmed. "One ship? Against the machines that destroyed 17 worlds and 800 million of my people." The alien was quiet for a moment. "Captain Kim, you should leave while you still can. The Ravagers will be here soon, and we would not see your brave people die for our sake." "We're not leaving," Taeho said firmly. "We'd like permission to visit your world and learn more about these Ravagers. Maybe we can find a way to help." 3 hours later, a small shuttle from the New Soul landed on Villani Prime. Captain Taeho, Dr. Soo-jin Lee, Chief Engineer Dong-hyun Jung, and translator Daeun Park stepped out onto an alien world for the first time in human history. The Villani city was unlike anything they had ever seen. Buildings grew from the ground like living trees, their crystal walls filled with moving patterns of light. Gardens floated in the air without any visible support. Music seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, as natural as wind or rain. But despite its beauty, the city felt empty. Many of the floating gardens had fallen to the ground. Some of the crystal buildings were dark. Their light patterns faded. The few Villani they saw moved slowly, their own light dim with grief. "Before the Ravagers came, our world had 2 billion people," Lyrian explained as he led them through the city. "Now we have 400 million. The rest evacuated to other systems hoping to find safety, but the machines will find them eventually." Dong-hyun was studying everything with the eye of an engineer. "Speaker Lyrian, what defenses do you have?" "What weapons?" Lyrian's patterns shifted to what Daeun recognized as confusion. "Weapons? We have tools for mining and construction. Some of our ships have plasma cutters for asteroid work, but we have never needed weapons before." "Never?" Soo-jin asked in amazement. "Our galaxy has been peaceful for thousands of years. When disputes arise, we talk. When resources are needed, we trade. When problems occur, we solve them together. The concept of deliberately harming another being is difficult for us to understand. Dong-hyun looked worried. What about your military? Your space fleet? We have cargo ships and exploration vessels. Some can be fitted with tools that might serve as weapons, but they were never designed for combat. The humans exchanged glances. No wonder the Ravagers had torn through Vellani space so easily. It would be like wolves attacking a flock of sheep. That evening, they were taken to see examples of Ravager technology that the Vellani had, recovered from destroyed ships. Dr. Soo-jin studied the twisted metal and strange circuits while Dong-hyun tried to understand how the machines worked. This is incredible, Soo-jin said, running her scanner over a piece of Ravager hull. The metal is self-repairing. The circuits are biological and mechanical at the same time. These machines are more advanced than anything we've ever seen. But they used to be alive, Daun pointed out, reading the Vellani research notes. According to this, the Ravagers were once an organic species called the Architects. Something happened to them millions of years ago, and they uploaded their minds into machines. Dong-hyun held up a piece of Ravager weapon. Look at this. The design changes as I watch it. These things learn and adapt to whatever they fight against. How do you fight an enemy that becomes stronger every time you attack it? Taeho wondered aloud. Later that night, alone in their guest quarters, the human team held a private meeting. Minna had stayed on the ship to monitor communications, and she joined them by video link. I've been listening to radio traffic from the other galactic powers, Minna reported. Captain, they all know about the Ravagers. They all received the Vellani distress calls. And? Taeho asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. They're letting them die. The consortium of Tal thinks it's too expensive to fight. The Union of Worlds decided the Ravagers will burn themselves out after eating this region of space. Nobody wants to risk their own worlds to save strangers. Soo-jin looked sick. They're writing off an entire species. It gets worse, Minna continued. I intercepted a message from the consortium. They're placing bets on how long the Vellani will last. They think it's entertaining. The room fell silent. Finally, Dong-hyun spoke up. So it's just us, Taeho agreed. One human exploration ship against machines that have destroyed 17 worlds. Captain, Daun said quietly, what if we can't win? What if we all die here for nothing? Taeho stood up and walked to the window. Outside he could see Vellani families gathering in small groups, their light patterns dim with sorrow. Children clung to their parents, not understanding why everyone was so sad. Then we die trying, he said, because that's what humans do. We don't abandon people who need help, even if it costs us everything. He turned back to his team. But we're not going to die. We're going to find a way to beat these machines because we have something they don't. What's that? Soo-jin asked. Taeho smiled, and for the first time since arriving at Vellani Prime, it reached his eyes. We're human. We've been fighting impossible odds since we climbed down from the trees. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have wiped us out a dozen times over. These Ravagers think they're the perfect predator? Wait until they meet their first human. Outside, the Vellani city continued its slow, sad music. But in the guest quarters where the humans planned and schemed, hope was being born. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened someone under human protection. The Ravagers were coming, but they had never faced anything like humanity before. The Ravagers arrived 2 weeks early. Captain Taeho was reviewing defense plans with Speaker Lyrian when the alarm started screaming. Minna's voice crackled over the communication system. Captain, we've got contacts at the edge of the system. Hundreds of them. Taeho ran to the command center the humans had set up in the Vellani capital. The main screen showed what looked like a moving storm of metal and death. The Ravager fleet was massive, easily 1,000 ships of various sizes, all bristling with weapons that had destroyed 17 worlds. They're moving faster than we expected, reported Hunwoo. From his position on the New Sol, they'll reach Vellani Prime in 18 hours. Speaker Lyrian's light patterns flickered with terror. So many. How can we possibly fight so many? We don't fight them all at once, Taeho said grimly. We make them come to us and we hurt them every step of the way. The plan they had developed was simple but desperate. The Vellani had converted their asteroid mining stations into weapons platforms. Their cargo ships had been fitted with the most powerful explosives they could build. and hiding in the outer system were 50 human-trained Villani pilots ready to fight and die for their world. All units. This is Captain Kim, Tejo broadcast to the mixed human Villani fleet. Remember what we taught you. Hit fast, hit hard, and get out before they can adapt. Don't try to be heroes. Dead heroes can't protect their families. The first attack came 6 hours later. A squadron of converted Villani mining ships led by pilot Hae-Jin Park, no relation to the translator, struck at the Ravager vanguard. They used tactics no civilized species had ever attempted: ramming attacks, suicide runs, and weapons fired at point-blank range. Target their communications arrays first, Hae-Jin ordered his squadron. If they can't talk to each other, they can't coordinate. The Villani pilots were terrified but determined. These machines had eaten their cousins, their friends, their children, who had been living on the colony worlds. Now it was time for payback. The first wave of attacks caught the Ravagers completely off guard. They had fought dozens of advanced civilizations, but always against opponents who followed predictable patterns. Ship-to-ship combat at long range, energy shields and precise targeting, civilized warfare between civilized species. But humans didn't fight civilized wars, and now they had taught the Villani to fight like humans. Converted cargo haulers rammed into Ravager destroyers at full speed, their hulls packed with explosives. Mining lasers, never designed for combat, tore through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. Most shocking of all, Villani pilots began boarding Ravager ships, something that no organic species had ever been insane enough to attempt. "This is impossible," transmitted one of the Ravager hive minds. "Organic beings cannot survive in our ship environment." They were wrong. The Villani pilots wore makeshift spacesuits and carried human-designed weapons. They didn't try to capture the ships. They just planted bombs and got out as fast as possible. In the first 4 hours of combat, the human Villani force destroyed 30 Ravager vessels while losing only 8 of their own. For the first time in millions of years, the Ravagers were losing a battle, but they learned fast. "Captain, the remaining Ravager ships are adapting," reported Dr. Su-Jin from her position monitoring the battle. "They're starting to counter our tactics." Tejo watched the tactical display grimly. The Ravagers were spreading out, making ramming attacks harder. They were targeting the Villani boarding parties before they could plant their bombs. Worst of all, they were learning to predict human-style tactics. "Time for Phase 2, Tejo announced. "All units switch to Defense Pattern Delta. Make them come to us." The human Villani fleet retreated toward Villani Prime, leaving behind a trail of mines, booby traps, and nasty surprises. The Ravagers followed, confident that they had figured out how their enemies fought. They were wrong again. Hidden in the asteroid belt around Villani Prime were the conversion yards where the humans had been modifying civilian ships. But these weren't defensive positions. They were the most audacious trap in military history. Engineer Bo-Ram Kim had arrived from Earth 3 days earlier with a small fleet of hastily converted ships. Her flagship, the Incheon, looked like a simple cargo vessel from the outside. Inside, it was a flying bomb with a fusion reactor rigged to explode with the force of a small star. "All units, this is Admiral Youngmin Lee," came a new voice over the communication system. "The cavalry has arrived." The Earth fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the Ravager formation. 50 human warships built for this one desperate battle opened fire at point-blank range. The Ravagers found themselves fighting 2 different battles at the same time. The Villani continued their hit-and-run attacks while the human fleet fought a more conventional space battle. But even the conventional human tactics were unlike anything the machines had seen before. "Captain Seo-hyun Nam, execute ramming speed," Admiral Lee ordered. The human ship Busan accelerated directly toward a Ravager dreadnought. At the last second, the crew evacuated in escape pods while the ship's AI drove it into the enemy vessel's reactor core. The explosion took out 3 Ravager ships. "Sir, we're reading massive Ravager reinforcements coming from the outer system," reported Commander Hae-Wan Kwan from the stealth ship Daegu. "At least 2,000 more ships." The numbers were overwhelming. Even with their unexpected tactics, the human Villani force was vastly outnumbered. They were winning individual battles but losing the war. That's when Dr. Su-Jin made her most important discovery. "Captain, I've been studying the Ravager communication patterns," she called over the battle noise. "They're not just machines, there's still organic consciousness in there. Deep down, buried under millions of years of programming, they're still the people they used to be." "What does that mean?" Tejo asked while dodging Ravager fire. It means they can be saved. The process that turned them into machines, it can be reversed. But we need to get close to their main command ship. On the tactical display, the Ravager command vessel was easy to spot. It was 10 times the size of any other ship, bristling with weapons and surrounded by hundreds of escorts. Getting close to it would be suicide. I'll do it, said Captain Junho Bay from the converted mining ship Soul Miner. My ship is fast enough, and if Dr. Lee can upload the reversal program to my computers, Junho, that's a one-way trip, Tejo warned. Sir, with respect, we're all on a one-way trip unless this works. My daughter is on Volani Prime. If I don't come back, you tell her that Daddy went to make the monsters go away. Before Tejo could object, the Soul Miner was already accelerating toward the Ravager command ship. Behind it, every human and Volani vessel opened fire, trying to clear a path through the enemy formation. The small mining ship dodged through the chaos of battle, its hull taking hit after hit but somehow staying intact. When it reached the command vessel, Junho did something that shocked even his human colleagues. He didn't attack the ship. Instead, he docked with it. Dr. Lee, I'm plugged into their main computer, Junho reported. Uploading your program now. What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. The reversal program spread through the Ravager network like a virus, undoing millions of years of mechanical programming and awakening the organic consciousness that still existed deep in their circuits. One by one, the Ravager ships stopped fighting. Their crews, suddenly remembering what it felt like to be alive, began to understand the horror of what they had become. The battle was over. But the war was just beginning. The celebration lasted exactly 12 hours. Captain Tejo was in the medical bay, visiting the wounded from the battle, when Captain Seo Hyun Nam burst in with terrible news. Sir, we've intercepted Ravager communications from outside this system, she said, her face pale. The fleet we just fought was only the advance guard. The main Ravager swarm is coming and it's headed straight for Earth. The room fell silent. Dr. Sujin looked up from the injured Volani pilot she was treating. How many ships? At least 10,000. Maybe more. And they've analyzed our tactics from the battle here. They know how we fight now. Tejo felt his blood turn cold. Earth had maybe 200 warships, most of them still under construction. Against 10,000 Ravager vessels, humanity's homeworld wouldn't last a day. There's more, Seo-hyun continued. The converted Ravagers, the ones we freed from their programming, they're telling us things about the main swarm. It's not just machines anymore. It's led by the original architects, the ones who chose to become Ravagers. They call themselves the Prime Collective. What makes them different? Tejo asked. They remember being organic. They chose to become machines because they were terrified of death. Now they see our reversal program as the worst possible threat, something that could force them to be mortal again. Dr. Kyung-ho Ryu, the physicist who had arrived with Admiral Lee's fleet, stepped forward. Captain, I've been studying the data from the converted Ravagers. The Prime Collective isn't just afraid of dying. They're afraid of living. They've been machines for so long that the thought of biological existence terrifies them. So they're coming to Earth to stop us from spreading the reversal program, Tejo realized. Not just to stop us, to destroy us completely. Every human, every piece of human technology, every trace that we ever existed. The news spread quickly through both fleets. The humans and Volani had won their first battle, but they had also painted a target on humanity's back. The most dangerous enemy in galactic history was now focused entirely on destroying Earth. 3 days later, President Eun Kyung-shin's voice reached the Kepler 442 system through the fastest communication link Earth could establish. Captain Kim, Admiral Lee, all human personnel in the Volani system, her message began. We have received your reports about the incoming threat. Earth Command has made a decision. Tejo and his officers gathered around the communication console, dreading what they were about to hear. We are not abandoning the Volani people, President Shin continued, and we are not running from this fight. If these machines want to destroy humanity, they're going to have to work for it. The president's image appeared on the screen, and behind her, Tejo could see the frantic activity of Earth's military command center. We are implementing the Terran Doctrine, effective immediately. Any threat to human worlds or human allies will be met with total resistance. We will not yield ground to genocidal machines, and we will make them pay such a terrible price that anyone else thinking of threatening us will reconsider. Admiral Han stepped into view. All available ships are being dispatched to your position. We're also sending our new secret weapons, technologies we've been developing based on your reports. How long until the reinforcements arrive? Admiral Lee asked. 4 weeks. The Ravager main swarm will reach Earth in 6 weeks. We're going to make our stand in the Volani system and stop them before they get to our homeworld. After the communication ended, the command staff sat in stunned silence. Humanity was betting everything on one desperate battle in alien space. "Sir," said Commander Hewan Kwan, "what if we lose? What if Earth's entire fleet is destroyed here?" Teho looked around at his officers, human and Volani working together, united by the shared threat. "Then we make sure the cost is so high that the survivors think twice about bothering anyone else." Over the next 3 weeks, the Kepler-4.2 system transformed into the greatest fortress in galactic history. Human engineers worked with Volani scientists to turn every asteroid, every space station, every piece of debris into a weapon. BORAM. Kim's construction teams built massive railguns that could throw chunks of metal at near light speed. Dr. Ryu's physicists created quantum mines that could tear holes in space itself. Most terrifyingly, General Wu Jin Kang implemented the Scorch System protocol. If the Ravagers want to consume organic material, General Kang explained to the mixed command staff, "We're going to deny them that luxury. Every planet, every moon, every piece of biological matter in this system will be evacuated or destroyed before they get here." It was a desperate plan, but it worked. Civilian transports carried Volani families to distant safe systems. Military engineers planted charges that could sterilize entire worlds if necessary. The Kepler-4.2 system would become a killing ground where organic life could not survive, but where Ravagers would find only death. The converted Ravagers, now calling themselves the Awakened, provided crucial intelligence about their former comrades. Their leader, a being who had once been called Architect Prime, worked closely with human tactical planners. "The Prime Collective believes they are perfect," Architect Prime explained through a mechanical translator. "They have not known defeat in millions of years. This makes them arrogant, predictable. What's their weakness?" Admiral Lee asked. "The same thing that made them Ravagers in the first place. They are terrified of anything that threatens their immortality. If you can make them face the possibility of true death, not just mechanical failure, but the end of consciousness, they will panic." Dr. Sujin had been working with awakened scientists to develop new versions of the reversal program. "We can't convert the entire swarm," she admitted, "but we might be able to target the Prime Collective itself. Force them back into organic bodies. Would that stop the swarm?" Teho asked. "It might. The regular Ravagers are controlled by the Prime Collective. If we can disrupt their leadership..." It was a long shot, but it was the best plan they had. On the day before the Earth reinforcements arrived, Mina intercepted communications from across the galaxy. The other major civilizations were watching the coming battle with great interest. "The Consortium of Tal is taking bets on how long we'll last," she reported. "The Union of Worlds is preparing to claim this system after we're all dead. And there are some others, species I've never heard of, who seem to be rooting for us." "Anyone offering to help?" Admiral Lee asked hopefully. "No, sir. We're still on our own." That night, as Teho looked out at the stars from the observation deck of Volani Prime, Speaker Lyrian joined him. The aliens' light patterns were calmer now, no longer flickering with panic. "Captain Kim, regardless of what happens tomorrow, my people will remember what humanity did for us. You came when no one else would. You taught us to fight when we had forgotten how. You gave us hope when we had none." Teho smiled grimly. "Don't thank us yet. We haven't won anything. You have already won the most important victory," Lyrian replied. "You have shown the galaxy that someone cares enough to fight for strangers, that someone believes all life is worth protecting." The next morning, Earth's fleet arrived. 300 ships led by the massive dreadnought Incheon under Admiral Chang Wook-han's personal command. They brought with them the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built, and the desperate hope of an entire species. 6 hours later, long-range sensors detected the Ravager main swarm entering the system. The final battle for the future of organic life in the galaxy was about to begin.